This government has had 5 years to introduce legislation to eliminate mandatory minimum sentences, one of the key factors in the systemic racism that has produced a correction system where 30% of those imprisoned are Indigenous people. Now, repeated instances of violence against Indigenous and Black Canadians have resulted in righteous outrage across Canada and a call from the parliamentary Black Caucus for action to transform policing and reform the justice system, including eliminating mandatory minimums. Here's where the story takes a strange turn. Apparently, 26 out of 36 cabinet ministers signed on to the Black Caucus letter. That's 2/3 of the cabinet, including the deputy prime minister and the justice minister. All of them signing as if they haven't been in the government for the last 5 years and have no responsibility for the failure to eliminate mandatory minimum sentences. Instead of just another expression of good intentions, why aren't we seeing legislation being introduced in this House today to eliminate mandatory minimum sentences?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank the honourable member for his question. I thank him for his commitment to this issue. Our government is committed to advancing sentencing reform that will stand the test of time. We'll continue to work, Madam Speaker, with our provincial and territorial partners and all actors in the criminal justice system, as well as taking advice from our courts and listening to all Canadians. We're committed, Madam Speaker, I can assure the honourable member, to achieving a modern and efficient criminal justice system that addresses the overrepresentation of Indigenous peoples. Minimum mandatory penalties is one subject for investigation that we are looking at. Black, racialized, and marginalized Canadians need to be assured that that the system will not be systemically racist as regards their interactions with the system. We know that systemic racism exists within the system, Madam Speaker, and we are working to fix it.
The Honourable Mr. Garrison, you have 24 seconds left if you'd like to ask a quick question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not doubting the minister's sincerity. I'm doubting this government's commitment to getting the job done. In 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called for an end to mandatory minimums. Fast forward 3 years to 2019, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Inquiry called for the elimination of mandatory minimums. Again, the government promised to act, but here we are a year later with no action plan in place for the inquiry's calls to justice. Again, when can we expect to see legislation before this House to eliminate mandatory minimums?
The Honourable Minister, a brief answer,
once
please.
Again, Madam Speaker, once again, I thank the honourable member for his very legitimate concern here. We're looking at a variety of different sentencing reform provisions, and one subject matter for what we are looking at includes mandatory minimum reform.